Welcome to Politics Unplugged. I'm Ann Trujillo. We are just 2 days away from Denver's mayoral election, and the twists and turns don't seem to be stopping. The latest development this week, Mayor Hancock's sexual harassment scandal from 7 years ago, brought back into the spotlight during a debate between the current mayor and challenger Jamie Gillis. Gillis then inviting the mayor's accuser to a news conference the next day. Contact 7 Chief Investigator Tony Kowaleski broke the original story and catches us up on the latest twists, including the mayor's mea culpa.
Fair to say you wish you didn't say what you said last night.
Absolutely. I stayed up all night thinking about it, going, I just should not have said that. That's not where I wanted to go with it.
Denver's mayor in full-fledged damage control.
The reason why I never said that it was sex, the reason why I say it was sexual harassment, because you don't see the back and forth conversation that occurred. That's the point I said. And so that's all I ever said.
Your applause, please.
After opening the door for criticism, essentially walking back part of his apology from 14 months ago.
I'm here, Tony, tonight to apologize. You know, when something happens, when you make a mistake, you know, a lot of how you're going to be judged is by how you respond. And I'm a person who leans in, accept responsibility, learn from it, and get better. This was a mistake. I'm human. I make mistakes.
Is there any doubt in your mind that you were sexually harassed by Mayor Michael Hancock?
No, not at all.
That was Detective Branch Wise more than a year ago. Today, she returned to defend her integrity and challenge the mayor's comments from last night's debate.
And after looking at him last night, I just look at him as a pitiful, desperate liar.
By all indications, this is really close. Are you concerned what you said last night could tip the scales?
One thing I don't agree with, and that is allowing or wanting to use sexual harassment as a political football game or football, and that's what unfortunately is happening here. We'll let them do that. At the end of the day, I'm going to continue to meet with voters, answer their questions as forthright as I know how to do it, as honest as I know how to, and to let them know that I am sincerely sorry for what I did 7 years ago. I've grown from it. I'm going to continue to grow from it, and I'm going to continue to seek out information and better understanding how things are operating in the city, and particularly in the lives of women who should never be made to feel uncomfortable.
Now, one thing is clear, tension is high in both campaigns. Neither candidate can rest easily until after the polls close Tuesday night at 7. Now, last week I shared with you my interview with Jamie Gillis and her Unity Committee. And this week I sat down with Mayor Hancock. And while we spoke before these latest developments, the harassment scandal was something we did discuss. But we started with questions about the challenges he faces, having only received 39% of the vote in the last election.
Well, you know what? I think if you look back on it, we knew that the issues of growth would be foremost for people, meaning housing, cost of housing, affordability, mobility issues in the city of Denver. We knew those would be the issues. We're in the midst of an amazing transformation. We know that all of us who live here feel, you know, a little uncomfortable with what's going on in the city of Denver. But the reality is that we get a chance now to talk about going forward and what the strategies are to manage, to really harness, but manage that growth going forward and address the challenges. And as I've been saying throughout this campaign, is as a resident of Denver, and as a mayor of the city, I much rather manage the challenges of growth and prosperity versus managing the challenges of a dying city.
So I know homelessness has been one issue that you've been hammered on for not dealing with it. Mm-hmm. You also just came out with a new homeless plan. So talk to me about that.
Actually, it's not a new homeless plan. What you see from us is an expanded continuation of the program that we have implemented in the city of Denver. We have seen a 34% decrease in homelessness since I've been mayor of Denver. So we are beginning to see, we have seen the progress of some of our initiatives. This is a very complex, multi-pronged challenge that faces the city. But we've also housed almost 8,000 people who were once homeless in permanent supportive housing, as well as put hundreds of people to work through our Denver Works Day Works program. So our initiatives are working. It's not just one single silver bullet. It is really tailoring our approach to every individual who's on the street. At the same time, we're managing a massive influx of people moving into the city, some of which have come here and become homeless. And so we see kind of a turnover in our homelessness in the city of Denver. So the reality is that our initiatives are working, and we need to expand them. We need to bring down the barriers for people entering to our shelters. We need to create 24/7 shelters, address the issues of people who have dogs or other animals, as well as storage issues and want to bring their partners in the shelter. That's where we are putting our focus, and that's maybe what you're alluding to when you say the new plan, because it is an expanded plan, but it's also going deeper and beginning to bring down some of those barriers.
Wait, you said homelessness is down 34%?
34.6%.
That's contrary to, I think, what a lot of people are seeing out in Denver.
I know. It's because you are seeing more focus on it and more of a concentration in the areas in terms of homelessness. But our point-in-time surveys show very clearly that homelessness is on a steady decline in the city of Denver.
Let me ask you about the new ad that your opponent has out, and she specifically mentioned sexual harassment at City Hall, and she has said Michael Hancock has used his position as his personal playground, which is conduct unbecoming the office of the mayor. City workers deserve to have a leader who respects their profession, will conduct themselves appropriately at all times. How do you respond to that?
You know, nothing new from the allegations, and it's unfortunate that she makes these very blatant and I think you know, offensive comments. The reality is that she has no evidence to back up what she says. You know, 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, I admitted that I sent suggestive text to a detective who was on my detail. I apologized to the detective. I apologized to my family and the people of the city. And I made a commitment then that I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to get better from it. And the goal for me and for anyone who goes through this is to make sure we never do this again, as well as to begin to change policies. And I went about the process of contacting other independent elected officials in the city of Denver, the district attorney, the city auditor, the clerk and recorder, and leadership at city council. And I said, let's write a policy that also allows for us as elected officials to be held accountable just as our city employees are. And we did that, and city council adopted it. So, you know, this is just politics. I have owned up to the challenges, at least a challenge in this particular situation. They're trying to make an issue out of it in the campaign, and you know, the people will have to speak to it.
She is also has said that you have allowed developers to do as they please in the city of Denver, noting gentrification and so forth, and forcing people out of Denver. What do you say to that?
You know, the developers in this city have responded to the marketplace. When I became mayor, I remember everyone celebrating in 2012 when we saw cranes go up in the air and we saw development begin to take off, because we knew it meant jobs. We knew that the economy was beginning to move, and that made a difference for us in terms of a city. There was a time when we were #1 in the country for construction, and that means that people were working, and a lot of people who were out of jobs were moving forward. But our developers have to go through a very intensive, very extensive, and arduous process to build anything in the city. And the mayor does not engage in that. I don't engage in it. I don't cherry pick projects. I don't move barriers out of the way for developers. That is part of our Community Planning Development Office, which has some very restrictive zoning as well as rules that you have to adhere to in order to foster the goal of safety. But it's interesting that she loves to say that when actually 25% of all her contributions come from one developer in the city of Denver. She was cherry-picked to run for mayor by this particular developer. And I just find that contradiction and hypocrisy amazing. And the fact that she has never been able to come up with an acceptable other debates that were offered that she refused to go to. And so I'm the candidate that can bring folks together. They may not always agree with me, but they know that I have the courage and the respect of them to say, let's come together and let's make sure the city moves forward as one great city together, representing all the diversity of this great city.
Well, election night should be very interesting, and you can watch for results right here on Denver 7 Tuesday night. And stay with us. We'll be right back.